Alright everyone, the steel is hot. I'm going to start getting it all welded together, all forge welded. After I stick it back in, I'll explain a little bit of the process. Alright, so I hit it once. So basically for forge welding you need three things. You need heat, pressure, and clean steel. That's why I always use clean steel. I clean it off first, sand it, wipe it down, whatever I need to, get all the rust off. And I use a bigger hammer to forge weld it together. I don't have a press, so you want to use a lot of pressure. You don't want to hit it too hard. You want to get those welds nice and solid. You do lots of fast hits. That way you don't miss a spot and have a little air bubble in there and get a delamination. So I hit it once. I kind of get everything squeezed together a little bit, and then heat it up again, get a little more flux on there, and then I'll really start forge welding it together. Do that 2 or 3 times. That way it gets all welded together nice and solid. I'll start hitting it with a lighter hammer on the other side. Just get it all nice and solid and square, and I'll start drawing it out. So about a minute or so, it's got to be hot enough to hit again. You want to keep it nice and hot. If it starts getting cold, then it's not going to forge weld together right. So let's check on it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go hit it one more time and get those welds all nice and set. We'll go from there. Alright, so you can see all the welds are starting to set pretty nice. It looks like one solid bar. You might be able to see all the little layers in there. Looking pretty good. So we're going to stick some more flux on to keep it clean. Hit it another time with a smaller hammer and make sure everything is set real nice. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a twist damascus. I'm going to get it all forge welded together. I'm going to draw it out. I'm going to fold it in half, forge weld it together, and then make it into a round and twist it. That'll be an interesting pattern. So it should be almost ready now. Of course, it's nice and hot, so it gets. You don't want to lose too much heat in it when you're forge welding, so you can stick it back in. It'll get nice and hot real quick. Well, I get the big hammer for getting all forge welded together. You want lots of pressure to make sure everything sticks. Got my smaller little hammer, about 4 or 5 pound, just to get a little more speed out of it and just bang away and drawing it out. And I got my little cross peen I made out of a sledgehammer. You can see a little point in there. What it does is help draw it out. You hit it on one side and it makes impressions and kind of makes the bar a little longer. Then you hit it with a regular hammer and it squeezes it all out. It's a quick way to make things a bit longer without making them too wide. Alright, so now the bar is pretty much forward welded together, so I don't really need the flux anymore because there's no reason to keep it clean because it's all one solid bar now. So I'm going to turn it and I'm going to hit it on the other side. When you do that, you put a lot of pressure on the welds, so that's why you got to make sure it's really forge welded together. Otherwise, when you start hitting on the other side, it'll start coming apart and we don't want that. Alright, it's all nice and hot now. Let's see if we can hit it from the side. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart. Alright, that went good. None of the welds came apart. It's still a solid bar. So I take some time drawing it out and I'll be back when it's ready to fold. Alright, I got the bar all nice and drawn out. It's pretty thin. It's really smooth. So what I'm going to do now, it's all ready to fold. I'm going to get it hot. I'm going to take a little axe here and I'm going to hot cut it about 3/4 of the way through. I'm going to grind on one side so it's nice and clean. You need it nice and clean because if you fold it, there's scale or mismatch or something in there, then there's a good chance you're going to get a bad weld and the whole thing's going to come apart. So I need it super clean. So I'm going to grind it. I'm going to get it hot again. I'm going to fold it over and then I'm going to start forge welding. So I'm going to stick it back in and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Alright, it's nice and hot now, so I'm going to show you how to take it. I clean off all the scale that's on there, I measure it in half, and I just cut it. I'm going to be doing some grinding too, so I gotta use my little stone cup wheel and grind everything smooth. So, see how it goes. Alright, I'll cut it most of the way through. It'll be ready to fold like that, won't take too much pressure, so I'm going to grind it now. Alright, so you can see everything is ground nice and clean and smooth. Nothing on there, no holes, no divots, no scale. We get it nice and hot again and fold it over. Alright, it's hot now, so I'm going to take it out. I'm going to fold it together and let's go from there. Alright, that worked really well. Everything's folded, see how it's perfectly lined up. Sides look good. So I'm going to stick it back in. We're going to get it fairly hot, and I'm going to hit it with a heavy hammer. Get everything evened out and all the impurities squeezed out. And then I can start forge welding it. Alright, we're up to temperature now, and we're going to start forge welding this first fold together. Alright, so there's the first weld done. It's first time you don't want to hit it too hard. You want to hit it a little lighter. You want to try to get all the impurities out, and it's really not welded too well. So if you hit it too hard, it might be too much speed, and it's gonna kind of come apart. So I want to hit it hard but lightly, if you know what I mean. I guess that's confusing. You want to be careful. Second time I'm gonna be hitting it a little harder, a little faster, and then it should be good. It should be all set. Alright, so there's the weld is pretty much set. I'm going to hit it a couple more times with a smaller hammer just to make sure everything's good, and then start hitting from the side and drawing it out. So I'll come back once it's rounded over. You want it pretty much square. You want the corners rounded over before you twist. That way it twists nice and there's no sharp corners to potentially lap or not forge weld together. You want everything nice and smooth. So I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, I got the bar all drawn out. It's pretty square. It's a good size. You don't want it too big for twisting because it's going to be really hard to twist, especially if you do it by hand. It's a lot of steel to move. And don't want it too thin either, because once you twist it, you have to get all the edges and sides and twist, forge welded back together. By the time you do that, then it's way too thin. You can't really use it for anything. You want to make sure you have enough material so you can get all the sides forge welded together. You don't have any issues later on. So right now it's square, so I'm going to just get all the corners rounded out, and I'm going to twist it. Alright, I have all the corners rounded over. It's nice and smooth. I'm going to get it hot, and then we're going to twist it. You want to get it really hot, because as you twist, if you twist enough, you could start forge welding all the little sides together. So if you get it too cold, and it's getting a lot of cold shots, and things are just going to go south real quick. So I get it nice and hot, and then we'll give it a twist. All right, here we go. Alright, that went really nice. You can see it's all nice and twisted, it's even, all the sides are touching. That's a really good twist. So I'm going to clean off the scale, put some more flux on it, and I'm going to start lightly forge welding the sides. Alright, so you see I'm starting to get the size in a little bit, but everywhere, there's gaps everywhere. That's all the twist. So I got to keep lightly hitting it. The key now with the twist is not to go too fast. You don't want to be moving material. You just want to get all the edges and the seams and twists all forge welded together, and then you can start moving it. It's important to do that now, because later you're going to have all scale and everything inside, and they're not going to forge weld together. You're going to have issues with your blades. So it's going to be a slow process. Alright, as you move you back over here, it's going to be a little easier to see what's going on. I won't be in the way. And little less light interference over here. Alright, so that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit. Just slowly hitting it until I get all the seams forged welded together, go around all the sides. If you just go on one side and the opposite side, then the perpendicular sides will start spreading out and they're going to open up and they're not going to forge weld. So, got to be careful and go everywhere. So, I'm going to keep up on that, and I'll check back in once I have it all forged welded together and I start drawing it out. Alright, I got the bar pretty much drawn out and almost to the right shape. So what I'm doing now, make a long bar and I make it just a little thicker than I need for the blades. So I take blades off of knives of handles I buy online. I take the blades off and I use them, kind of make an outline and get the shape right. So I get the thickness of the blade, and I make my Damascus just a little bit thicker. That way I can grind on the belt sander, and I can get all nice, flat, and smooth, and it won't be too thin. So I got it pretty much the right thickness, and I got to get the right width, and then I'll show you how I do that. So what I'm doing now, I'm hitting on the horn of the anvil. The horn of the anvil is round, and when I use a round hammer, this you can see just a little bit rounded up top. So when I hit them, it squeezes the bar a little thinner in that spot, and I keep going, and instead of drawing it wide, it draws it long, and that's what I kind of want to do, because it's a little thin already. You can see it's still pretty, it's not real wide, so I don't want to make it any thinner. So I don't want to hit the sides. I want it to draw out long, and I want to keep it this width. That way I don't have to mess around with it too much. So see all the little grooves in there? That's from hitting on the horn. So I'm going to flatten it out, and I'll get a little longer, and I'll get a little thinner, and it should be just about right. Alright, so now I got it pretty much the right thickness and right width that I need. Just hitting it real lightly. I don't want to hit it too hard because I want to try to flatten everything out. I need it to be nice and smooth. There's too many lumps in there, and it's going to take a lot of grinding to flatten out. I'm wasting a lot of material. So I want to get it right. So I'm going to flatten it out a little more. There's still some grooves in there. I'm going to flatten it out one more time, and I'm going to straighten in the vise. Alright, now I use my slightly lighter hammer for that. It's got a real flat head on it. That way you can, not as many hammer marks. I have a lot more control. I can get it nice and flat without putting big divots in it. So I'm just heating it up a little bit. I got my little vise here, my little channel. I'm going to squeeze it so when it's hot, so I get it real flat and straight. If there's any kind of a bend or anything in it, then I'm not going to be able to make a blade because the blades are straight, obviously. If you have a bend in it, you're going to have to grind way too much off, and it's not going to be able to make a blade. It's not going to clean up. So I need everything straight, flat, and even to be able to do this. we go. Nice and straight, flat, nice good bar. Now you see I only did about half the bar. It's pretty long, but my forge is only about 8 inches or so long. And it doesn't work because you only get the first 8 inches hot. So I figured I'd just get half of it, the right size, the right thickness, the right width, and I cut it out, and then I'll heat it back up again and do the rest. So basically what I do now, I grind off the scale, and I take blades, just like this. Just like this. Just like this. And I kind of shape them out. I kind of make it as, so I waste as little material as possible. And I cut them out, and then I start making a blade. So after I cut these out, then I'm going to heat it back up again, and I'm going to forge the rest of it. So that's pretty much my process. That was a twist Damascus. I also do a random pattern. Random pattern is basically you just fold it a bunch of times. And every time you fold it, you forge roll it together, you draw it out, you fold it again, you're mixing a steel. It's kind of like Play-Doh, where you mix all the different colors and the different steels mixed together and create a really unique pattern. And it's basically just how the steel mixes. All kinds of swirls and lines. It's unique. Every single one comes out different. That's why it's just a random pattern. So probably a couple weeks I'll be making that. I just did twists because it's a little quicker today. Wanted to get everything and show you the whole process. So maybe another time I'll make a video of a random pattern Damascus. Forging it probably 3 or 4, folding it 3 or 4 times, but essentially the same process. It's just you saw me fold it one time, I just do that multiple times. I just don't do the twist. So that's about it. So check out my Etsy page. It's Mike's Damascus on Etsy. I got lots of knives on there. I can do custom. Just let me know if you have anything you're interested in. Send me a message either on Facebook or on Etsy. I'm going to attempt to get all my videos sewn together and maybe put them on YouTube. But if I end up doing that, I'll send the link. All right, thanks for watching.